When it comes to forecasting the future, you'd be hard-pressed to beat my guest today here on the PME Interview. As Chief Engineer at Thales, Ken Brady's job is to develop in-flight entertainment solutions, not for the aircraft flying today, but for the aircraft flying in 5 years' time, aircraft like the 787 and the A350. So please join me in welcoming my special guest today, Ken Brady, here to share his thoughts on the in-flight entertainment solutions for the future. Ken, thank you very much for joining us here on the PME Interview.
Thank you for
Nice to see you. Now, your business card, Ken, says Chief Engineer at Thales. What does that entail? What are you responsible for?
I am similar to a CTO in which I'm the top technical person in the company, in the IFE group. I report directly to the Vice President of Engineering, and I serve as his technical right arm. And oversee mostly new developments, but with an extensive many years of experience. I'm also called in on a case-by-case basis for ongoing problem investigation.
So is it your job to look into the future and say, what is the passenger going to be wanting to watch and listen to in say 5 years from now?
It very much is. I'm always on the lead group for new airplanes or new systems development. I enjoy that. I also have the enviable opportunity to talk with many of our customers, the existing customers or future customers. So it gives me a chance to see what they're thinking, get a feeling for what they're looking for, and bring that to our product development. And being able to bridge between those two areas is, I think, very important for my position and for me in the industry.
Mm. Your background is that you worked for many years at Hughes Avicom, which is one of the forerunners of today's Thales and Rockwell Collins and Panasonic and the like. You must have seen a lot of changes since you first started.
I've seen an immense amount of changes. I was one of the founding members of Hughes Avicom when Avicom and Hughes merged together to create that company. I've seen it go from sticking little TV monitors on the ceiling and little passenger controllers with the simple audio distribution systems to the very sophisticated networks that we're today putting on board. Phenomenal to take a look at what's happened in the 25, 30 years that I've been in the business.
So let's fast forward a few years. I'm getting on the inaugural flight of the A350 with a Thales system on board. What am I going to see?
Well, you're going to see a very clean seat design in which you step in and it looks like indeed it's the seat was designed with the display in it. You'll have very little additional equipment. In an economy seat, you'll be able to have everything right in front of you. You don't have to hunt for the audio jack. You don't have to hunt for the passenger controller. Everything is right there, easy to see, easy to use. In premium class, you'll have large displays, very well integrated designs. Again, you also may have a little hand controller which makes it much easier to navigate from the screen, which is set in a bit of different distance away. Really new approach to controlling the systems for the passenger.
So can you tell us a little bit more about this? Can you describe it?
Oh yes, it's a passenger controller that uses that's structured and looks kind of like an iPod or iPhone. Has a touchscreen control, a couple of physical buttons for specific functions, but basically now it's all soft programmable. And what you really can now do is, rather than trying to navigate by going up, down, left, right on a big screen far away from you, you can actually make it context sensitive so that you make your selections locally there on the screen and you're in a more theatrical experience rather than this computer-ish navigation experience.
Mm. Will the premium passenger of the year 2015, will they be enjoying 3D movies on board?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Certainly we've been studying and researching 3D for a significant period of time. It's a very interesting technology. It's not quite ready for prime time. You see a lot of televisions being built with it right now, but for an IFE system, it's not only the screen. You need to provide the whole package. You need to provide the content properly multiplexed and mixed. You need to go ahead and create the left-right eye image and get it to the screen. And while the television manufacturers are able to do it, there aren't many other devices yet that support a credible 3D. Something something we're watching very closely. We're very excited about bringing to the marketplace.
Do you think there's a crying need by passengers want to watch movies in 3D?
I think passengers will want to watch movies in 3D. One thing will be critical will be to support both 2D and 3D kind of simultaneously, to be able to switch back and forth. Because about 15% of the population can't see 3D, so it's of no big benefit to them. And a substantial portion of the population also gets uncomfortable watching 3D. And the last thing you want is an uncomfortable passenger flying in a moving aircraft. So we're going to have to switch it back and forth. Will be a fundamental need for it, so that if indeed a passenger feels uncomfortable, he can switch it back to 2D, not be concerned or upset by the technology. But if you tolerate it and it's a good production, it can be really great.
Let's talk connectivity.
Okay.
Is this moving up the agenda for many airlines?
Connectivity has been a back interest for a significant period of time. It's moving a little bit more to the forefront. I think there are many potential applications for connectivity once you get it on an aircraft, but we just really haven't got the total business case put together. One exciting activity is Inmarsat has announced their plans to develop and deploy Ka-band satellites. That will provide a substantial additional bandwidth than is currently available through the Inmarsat system. It should provide an easier antenna arrangement than the current Ku solutions are offering. So it's a real activity to watch and to see how the technology will be able to apply. The bandwidth is 10 times what the current L-band technology will, and that's a substantial improvement.
But that must be a huge investment on behalf of Inmarsat. Is the poor old passenger going to have to pay for it?
Oh, that's the critical element. It has been the critical element all along. The whole business case of how to make connectivity make sense, how expensive is the system and how costly is the data. The hope is that while it gives you 10 times the bandwidth, that'll be at or substantially lower in cost. That is the case with Ku. It's lower cost. We're hoping that the cost will come down so that it becomes something that a passenger or a select set of passengers would be willing to pay to have the benefit of the service.
But you'll have to forgive me, I'm a bit of a technical Luddite, but if you've got an A380 flying around and let's suppose just theoretically 400 passengers get their laptops out and start wanting to surf the web, how big is the pipe? Can it support that number of applications?
An A380 is roughly the size of a building, of a reasonably sized business. Think about the internet connection you have here for the facility, or we have about 600 people in our building. Our internet connection is not all that fast. It's a question, and real passengers flying will be very much like the users within our building. Some will be watching movies, some will be doing other things, some will be reading books. I think a real-world scenario, it will be actually quite effective. I think we get too involved in trying to provide simultaneously the same access for the full passenger population, and we probably make some bad decisions trying to do it that way.
Do you see there's much more room for development with the top series, or are you now looking beyond that to the point where you're starting with a clean sheet of paper?
No, I see more development in the top series. I think the area that we really should focus on as an industry is to get the whole world of applications and applications where it needs to be. I think we continue to, the industry tends to focus a little bit too much on hardware and new hardware and what new hardware can I do. And I don't think they put adequate emphasis on what, okay, I got this great hardware, now what am I going to do with it? But I really think that's an area, and I know that's an area we'll be focusing much more in the upcoming future.
So for the passenger of the future, when they switch on their IFE system, the screen in front of them will light up. Will it look a little bit like an iPhone?
Oh, well, I don't know. And that's one operating paradigm. It might look like an Android phone. It might look totally different. And I think you're going to see all three. It's interesting watching the upcoming OS wars between Apple OS, or iPhone OS, Android, the Linux world. There's going to be a lot of exciting happenings in the next year. The iPad is going to, I believe, have an awful lot of influence on how IFE actually proceeds.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Oh, well, it's the first carry-on device, which is effectively an entertainment equivalent to what we're providing in the system. So at one point is a bit of a competitor. But it also is an environment in which it's providing rich development, a lot of applications being developed. And I think if we can leverage how those work, how those look, how those feel on our system, it's going to give us a real direction in this application enhancement, application development arena. It's a busy world, and I think we can leverage off of it.
Are you still excited about things that are happening in our industry?
Oh yes, yeah. I'm always an optimist, and I like seeing new things come in, trying new things, but they all have to work. One of the critical elements is I can't be rebooting it 2 or 3 times a day. That's really viewed negatively, and it's really from a passenger experience, because he doesn't have Control-Alt-Delete. He doesn't have all of the buttons and controls that his computer might have. So it really must work much better than the computer that he has at his desktop.
Ken, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us.
I thank you very much.
Up next on the PME Interview, Steve Harvey will talk to another interesting and informative guest. That's the PME Interview. Don't miss it.